Hi guys, this is Donna with Love Rocks, and we are going to do our last St. Patrick's Day gnome for the season. Let's start off by saying if you're new to the channel, you can be in the drawing for free. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel and leave a comment under this video. In about 10 days, we will do the drawing, and then I will post on the comments for this video who the winner is. Okay, let's get started. This is just a little St. Patrick's Day gnome. I decided to put balloons with him this time. I liked all the colors and I wanted to be able to do something a little bit different than we've done in the past. So got this rock. I will say the rock turned out a little darker than I wanted it to. So I'm hoping that you can see the sketch on it. I apologize if it's difficult to see because it did turn out a little bit darker than I had wanted it to. So went ahead and I sketched out regular gnome, and then we're going to put about 4 or 5 balloons over there off to the side. It'll be his right hand. And I thought that that might be a little bit fun, something different. The colors that I used for this video will be in the description, and they're pretty basic. I used some orange, black, a little bit of white, the normal colors that I use for the nose, which is camel and baby pink, a little bit of engine red to shade in that nose, and then some gold. I went and got some metallic gold for his buckles on his shoes and a couple of the balloons. So started off with that green, and we're going to fill in the hat, and then we're going to start putting in those highlights. And for the highlights on this one, the green is such a really pretty deep green that I used that I was able to just go ahead and add a little bit of white to it and lighten that up for the highlights. With any of these rocks, when you get natural rocks like this, you really got to make sure that you've got all those crevices filled up. Now this one wasn't too bad. It looks porous, but it really isn't as porous as it looks. It did take the paint pretty good, but it didn't absorb it so much so that that I had to put a second layer or anything like that on it. If you come across a rock that is very porous and you're having trouble with the paint staying on it, it's getting sucked down into the rock, you can always hit that with a layer of your sealer before you start painting. And all you do is hit that with one really thin layer of sealer, let it dry completely, and that'll really help kind of give you a barrier so that it doesn't suck your paint down into those rocks. Any of your rocks that have some sandstone in it or anything like that, you're really going to see that those paints are being pulled down into that rock. This one wasn't too bad. The other thing is, if you have something, even if it's not pulling your paints down, but if it's got a lot of dips and crevices in it, it's hard to get your really straight lines if it's not a real smooth rock. So that's another rock that sometimes I will do one of two things. Either I'll hit that with a little bit of the sealer and try to get a barrier there, or I will paint a background. I will paint it a solid color and then put my picture on top of that solid color. I don't do that very often, but once in a while I'll come across a rock that has a lot of dips and valleys and stuff, and I will have to put a background color on there. And all you do is pick out what you're going to put on there, whether it be black or white or gray. You can do colors like you're doing a sunset or something like that. And you just put it on really, really heavy. Let that kind of smooth out all those dips and crevices. Let it dry real well, and then you can start. So with the nose, I always do the baby pink and the camel together. It makes a really nice flesh color. I will use white in quite a bit of water, so a real wet white to do the highlight at the top of the nose, and then I will add some engine red to the mixture to do the bottom of the nose and the shading that I'm going to do on the nose. Sometimes if the hat is a hat that dips out away from the face, so I know it's going to cast a shadow over that very top part of the nose, I'll shadow it with that red mixture as well. With this guy, of course, you know, you can't do a St. Patrick's Day gnome without an orange beard, so I kind of laid in that orange and got it in there first. When you're doing beards like this, it's always layering, always. You can start with gray, you can start with black, you can start with white, you can start with anything that's going to be your basic color, whatever the color is going to be at its darkest is what you want to put on the bottom. And then as you're coming up, you're going to layer it. So I mixed some of the orange with some of the camel to get a lighter orange, because I didn't want to put orange on top of orange on top of orange, and I didn't want to put too much black in there. So I lightened that orange to put it underneath because I wanted to be able to see different colors in that beard. On the shoes, I did a little, instead of just a little regular shoe, I did kind of a little boot. It's got a heel on it, you'll see. And then I put a big gold buckle on it. Now my beards usually cover up most of the shoes, but I will take the time to do, you know, some detail on those shoes so that you can see that detail as you're putting in the wisps of the beard around it. Of course, you got to have black shoes if you're going to have a St. Patrick's Day gnome. And so he's got the black shoes. I put a little bit of highlight on the top of those shoes so that you can see it has kind of a shiny spot. And then we'll put those buckles in. As you're going back in, you're going to start putting that arm and sleeve and the hands in. So although I'm going to go over both of those arms a little bit with the beard, I will put those arms in and get the shading in so that they're just about exactly, you know, all the details in them that I'm going to want in them. And you'll see that you wind up going back over that part of the painting a couple of times. So you're going to start off by putting in that arm, both arms actually, and the little gloved hands. Then we're going to put the beard where it goes over top of the gloves and over the top of the arm with little tiny wisps. And then we're going to go back, and if there's any detail that we want to put on those gloves, we'll put it on at the very last. And right here's where you're going to put that little bit of highlight on the top of the nose. And how I do that is I just get a little bit of white and I make it very, very wet, and I put it on there, and it makes it real nice to blend in with those darker colors. And that's the easiest way to get that highlight on top of the nose. Now this beard, I do numerous different beards. Some of them I really like to put a mustache and then a beard. Sometimes I like to just put the beard, and sometimes I like to make it where the mustache and the beard come together, but you can see where the mouth is. So it just depends on kind of the mood and what I think goes with whatever the picture is. If you look at all of my gnomes, they're each just a little bit different. I felt like when I got done doing this one, if you have been around for a few years like I have, I kind of felt like he looked a lot like Captain Caveman. So that wasn't on purpose. I was trying to really bring out the St. Patrick's Day on him. Then I picked a couple of different colors for the balloons. When you get to that, I did a couple of different greens, and then I did the two gold ones, just because I thought that kind of brought that out on it. Last year I did a St. Patrick's Day gnome, and I did two. One, he's holding the lucky horseshoe, and one he is holding, I think he's holding a 4-leaf clover. So, you know, when you do these over and over, you kind of got to just come up with some new stuff. And I'll tell you, with gnomes, that's the best part about doing gnomes, is you can change them up just enough that that they're always different. Again, on the colors, the exact colors that I used, I'll make sure and put that in the description. This last week we hit 150,000 views on this channel, so I would really like to tell everybody that has followed along with me from the beginning, thank you so much for watching the videos and being such a great part of all of this. I never expected to ever have my videos viewed 150,000 times in a year, so I really appreciate it. And if you would like to help further this channel, please share this to your social media. Any one of my videos, please share them. One of the things I like to ask about in the comments is if there's things that you specifically would like to see painted. I can't guarantee that I will paint them, but I will attempt. Please leave a comment of things that you would like to see painted. I think picking out what I'm going to paint for the next video is the hardest part of having this channel. Painting is the easiest. Filming isn't that hard. The hardest part is trying to figure out what to paint next. I get pulled between what I think people might want to watch and what I enjoy doing, as well as what I can find to paint. So please, any suggestions, I would love to see them in the comments. I've said this on a few other videos, and for anybody who hasn't watched any of my videos, the reason I skip around from one thing to another is usually because I'm waiting for something to dry before I go back to it. And in this particular incident, the balloon needs to dry so I can get the highlight on the balloon, but I can't do that until it dries a little bit. So I kind of go back and forth between the beard and the balloons during this part of the video. Also, if you're new to the channel, I use folk art paint. Most of the time I use multi-purpose. It seems to stick to the rocks well. It's inexpensive. It has good coverage. I haven't had any problems with it turning colors when it's outside, because my rocks most of the time are hiding rocks, so they're outside. And I can get it in a variety of colors. It's easy to find. Folk art you can get at almost any craft store. So if you're starting out, I really suggest you try something like that. The biggest part that the thing that's probably the most important when you first start out is accessibility and cost. You don't want to start out with something that's really expensive when you're just starting a hobby that you don't know if you're going to stay with it or not. And then the other thing is trying to find some of these paints. There are other paints out there on the market, but a lot of times you have to order them, or you have to go to a specialty shop for them. Folk art is super easy. You can find it almost anywhere. And the multi-purpose paint really sticks well on the rocks. I have not had any problems with it pilling at all. And as far as sealing, I seal my rocks with a spray sealer. There are a multitude of spray sealers, and I've tried 4 or 5 of them. I can tell you personally, I don't like one better than the other. So I tend to pick something that, again, is inexpensive, because I give every one of my rocks away almost exclusively. I've sold a few, but very few. So I give away most of my rocks, or I hide them, which again is giving them away. So with a hobby like this, I don't want to put out too much money. So I do tend to use something that's inexpensive. I list in the description the one that I use the most, but you can find several of them. Any of your outdoor clear gloss sprays that you can get at either Lowe's or Home Depot work well. There's a couple of sprays that you can get in your hobby stores that are, again, clear sprays that's specifically made to spray crafts and to seal them. Any of those work as well. The last thing I guess we could talk about would be brushes. When I first started, I just bought a no-name set of brushes. And then after I wore those out, and on these rough surfaces, you will wear out brushes pretty fast. I went to a set of brushes called Benesi, and they'll be listed in the description. I really enjoyed those. They fit well in your hand. They seem to last a little bit longer. They're not expensive. I got them off of Amazon, so I do use them quite a bit. And then, I just replace them when I need to. When I'm painting a lot, I tend to go towards my inexpensive no-name brushes. I use them a lot if I'm painting a ton of hiding rocks. If I'm doing the videos, I tend to use my little more expensive brushes. So it's kind of up to you. You can get into this hobby for as little as $40, or you can get into this hobby for a lot of money. It really depends on what you want to spend. Rocks, most of my rocks I find lying around my property. We have a large parcel of property. We're up in the mountains, and so I'm able to find most of my rocks. When I was in Texas, there wasn't a rock to be found, and so I bought rocks, and the best place that I bought rocks was at the garden center. You can get them at either Lowe's or at Home Depot. Back in the garden center, you can get them in I found them in 3 different colors. You can get them in kind of a red sandstone color, a dark, almost not quite a black, like a dark gray smoky color, or you can get them in a white color. They're just called beach rocks. You get a bag for about $14. Most of them you're going to want to use for hiding rocks, but out of a big bag you can probably get about 20 that are nice and round and smooth and usable for doing actual nice artwork. And then the rest of them, I just keep them and I use them for making hiding rocks. I know a lot of people go into landscaping places if you have one of those available, and a lot of times they'll let you go out and pick up a bucket of rocks or whatever for a certain amount of price. I don't believe that's expensive, and you get to pick out your rocks. I was never in an area where there was a landscaping business close to me, so I never got the chance to try that. And once you get those balloons colored in and you get your highlights on them, you're going to take, with this rock being so dark, I went ahead and went with black and put in the black strings. Remember, his hand needs to be around that black string. He's holding it, so make sure that this is kind of one of those areas where after you finish putting in the hands and putting in the arms and you put the beard over the top of it, you're going to go back and make sure that those mittens, those hands are holding on to those strings. So you may go back and you may do a little more work on that. And I like to have at least 3 colors in my beards. This is predominantly an orange beard, of course, of a red-headed Irish gnome. And so, that is predominantly what color you want it to be, but you can put some gray in there or black in there. A little bit of gold or yellow in there just to give you some highlights and some darks and just some variation so that it looks like there is more than a flat surface one color beard. And those were pretty much the colors I used, was a little bit of yellow, orange, a little bit of black. And I like to have little tiny wisps that go up and kind of go over the very bottom of those hats. I don't know, it just gives your gnome a little bit of character. I feel like a gnome is, this little rough character out there in the forest, and so you don't want his hair to be too pretty and too maintained. So give him a little roughness around the edges. And remember that it would be his left arm. If his left arm is sitting on top of that beard, there's going to be a tiny bit coming out from underneath that elbow. So don't forget that. When you're doing gnomes, if you don't have a little bit of hair coming out from over there, it kind of looks lopsided when you get done. So make sure you look at that when you're finishing up your gnome. And just to give it a little bit of balance more than anything, I put in a few little wisps of grass. Sometimes I add to my pictures like that, sometimes I don't. You can do whatever you'd like. It's whatever hits me when I'm painting. I don't know, I'm really looking forward to spring. It was a long winter, so that green grass was kind of inspiring to me. When you're looking at that hat, as you're working on this, sometimes I will go back in and I'll make sure that all those little dips and crevices have enough of the dark in it. Sometimes you kind of lose that dark shading, and so I'll go back in and I'll make sure that all those areas have plenty of dark in it. Hope you're enjoying this. This will be the last St. Patrick's Day rock that we do. So have a great week. Thank you again for coming back to the channel, and we will see you in another 10 days. Bye.